Invisigal will betray us in the following episodes of Dispatch. Or will she? Hey, I'm Oni. I play games and read stories, and I talk about things I like, I'm interested in, or completely obsessive over. Now, this is gonna be a yap fest, so settle down and get ready. Dispatch! If you haven't heard, it's a superhero office game, but it's so much more than that. Rich with story, choices, and amazing characters. If you haven't played it, I recommend pausing this video now and seriously playing it for yourself. It's fantastic. Now to the topic at hand. I want to discuss possible story events that could happen in later episodes. In particular, who will betray us? Whoa! I hear you scream behind your monitor. Betray us? That accusation came out of nowhere. Well, I propose a question, dear viewer. Did it truly come out of nowhere? Now pause for a second and allow me to mention something. For the rest of this video, I'm going to run with the assumption that you have played this game already and are aware of the basic foundations of Dispatch's main story and their characters. Okay? Okay. And I guess a little spoiler alert in case that wasn't clear. To the question at hand, will Invisigal betray us in the next couple episodes? In my honest opinion, no, not at all. But the writers are setting it up as if she will by using some very interesting writing techniques. Now before we delve into some of them, I'd like to establish that I don't know the actual names behind these writing techniques. I'm just aware of them, okay? Don't flame me in the comments. Thanks. Now, when we learn a little more about Invisigal, they mention something in particular.
Turned herself in a few months ago and entered the program on the condition we didn't ask questions.
That's a little suspicious now.
I call something like this breadcrumbs. It's essentially information we as readers learn that doesn't have any immediate impact on the story told, but may involve itself later or be a clue to an otherwise ambiguous conclusion. I guess you can akin it to Chekhov's gun if you're familiar with that. Actually, it just might be Chekhov's gun. This does differ from tertiary information, which is more akin to like fun facts about a character. It's the difference between joining as long as you don't ask questions versus having asthma or holding her breath to use her powers. Honestly, you'll learn to recognize the differences as you actively consume more media and stories. Now, breadcrumbs are crucial in establishing a twist in a story. For a plot twist, of course, we need characters involved in the plot twist. For characters to be involved in the plot twist, we need some story leeway that will allow the characters the ability to involve themselves in the twist. You still with me? Did I lose you? Nah, I hope not. And breadcrumbs, like Invisigal's join with no questions asked, provides her this leeway, this air of mystery and uncertain information the player isn't privy to but can speculate on. It makes it question, why doesn't she want us to ask questions? And questions are always great to ask. Now I already hear you saying, but Oni, that's just evidence to the theory that she may well be the one to betray Robert. Actually, how do you even know if anyone will even betray us? Oh shoot, you're right. Or are you? Haha! By the way, I'm not mocking you or anything. I think it's healthy to be skeptical. It's great to be full of questions because that's the first step in media literacy. Allow me to pose a few more questions to get your gears turning. First, who is the main antagonist in Robert's story? And specifically Robert's. I know an antagonist doesn't have to be a villain, but I want to mainly focus on the broader story the writers might be painting here. Because I still believe it's Shroud, clearly. But we've only seen and heard mention of him in the first episode. Why? Why is he missing in the next 3 episodes? Especially when Robert is getting the Mecha Man suit repaired to presumably go after and pursue Shroud. Where is he? Why is the main villain, main antagonist not here? Now I pose a counter question, and I'll be switching sides a lot, so keep up. What if Shroud is here? Not physically, obviously, we would see him, but what if his actions and decisions are still present in the story? Like what, you ask? I propose that Shroud is the reason behind Invisigal joining SDN. But Oni, you're still contributing to the fact that Invisigal will betray us. I know! Listen, there's one more prevalent technique that I'd like you to know that writers use in stories like this. The red herring. This essentially refers to a distraction or some misleading information that will pull viewers and readers into believing a false conclusion, such as making you think someone is a villain when in reality, they really aren't. This is what I believe they are doing with Invisigal's character. Combined with breadcrumbs, these 2 techniques are enough to convince some people towards what the writer wants you to believe, such as a possible connection between Shroud and Invisigal. But how can you tell the difference between a red herring and just essential plot elements that are building toward a big reveal? Man, you guys have so many questions, which is great. I reiterate. Okay, there are 2 more techniques to mention that will help in discerning this information. I know you're sick of it, but this is a learning experience and learning is fun. These 2 techniques kind of go hand in hand, like opposite points of the spectrum, so it's best to tackle them both. I call them the scapegoat and buttering up. Don't be weird, alright? Now, the scapegoat can refer to a character or event that is a target of disparagement or criticisms that paint them in an unfavorable light. Like Invisigal, she's bottom of the leaderboard, she's disobeying orders, or she should be cut from the program altogether. anything to make them look bad in your eyes, you, the player. Now, buttering up is on the opposite end of that. As the name implies, it is praising something excessively, and the characters in the stories aren't always doing it. Sometimes it's the writers buttering up characters to paint them in a better light by placing them in favorable situations, to assuage or deter from their more harsher characteristics. For example, the writers will give a character a save the cat trope, where they will on-screen rescue an abandoned cat from the side of the street, or maybe an uplifting conversation in a bathroom, as long as they look good and convince the player to trust those characters more. Now back to Invisigal. I believe she is the scapegoat, a target for directed ridicule to implant in the player's mind that she could be evil in some way, or at least not as good as everyone else, so that she is the most suspicious in the sense. Especially when those words of ridicule come from a trusted friend, and that's why I believe she won't be the one to betray us. But if not Invisigal, then who? In the game, a clear opposite or foil to Invisigal, I believe, is reflected in your choices of romance. At the end of episode 4, you could go on a movie date with Invisigal, which by the way is my favorite one because just look at him. It's so adorable and it's making me kick my feet, it's so sweet. Or you can go on a dinner date with Blonde Blazer. And honestly, the characters of Blonde Blazer and Invisigal and their relationship is definitely an interesting topic for another video, but I digress. Now, am I suggesting that Blonde Blazer will be the one to betray Robert? Maybe. I think it's highly unlikely though. With her character writing, she seems so genuine and upfront. Sure, you can say that her and Robert got intimate a little too fast in comparison to Robert and Invisigal, and that could be a point of suspicion, but her overall story points during that time and her moments of vulnerability, especially the dinner date, doesn't seem like someone who's plotting the downfall of Mecha Man or is involved in it in any sense. She just feels like a girl who was saddled with a heavy responsibility and is just looking for someone to share in a moment away from the noise of superhero work. That, and I can't think of any connection to Shroud, who would definitely be the main reason behind causing the litany of Mecha Man's major struggles. So maybe not Blonde Blazer, maybe someone else. Someone still on SDN's side that we may not initially suspect. Pause. I should say there's an aspect to the buttering up technique that I failed to mention, something incredibly important when referring to plot twists in stories. The character, event, or object on the receiving end of buttering up tends to be the proxy of the twist. The ones you've built and established this mutual trust with throughout the story, someone you wouldn't expect to stab you in the back. They're usually the ones who are holding the knife. Let's talk about an outside example for a moment. I played a game called Skin Freak recently, a horror game about a serial killer, and spoilers ahead by the way. In that game we meet Steve, who we begin to have positive and entertaining banter with. He's so amicable within the interactions, which is the writers buttering him up, and he's also the one to begin pointing fingers to a different character in the game as the potential serial killer, another worker named Harold. But surprise! At the end of the story, Steve reveals himself to be the serial killer. The plot twist.
It was me, Perry.
Now back to Dispatch. Allow me to throw questions your way that might lead you, the viewer, to who I believe will betray Robert. 1. Who is constantly being buttered up by the characters and events of the writers? 2. Who is Robert's most trusted companion so far? 3. Who is he closest to in the company? 4. Who has a connection with Shroud? And 5. Who is the main mouthpiece of criticisms toward Invisigal, the scapegoat? I'll give you 5 seconds. Did you guess? That's right! Or wrong, I don't know what you said. This is a video, silly, I can't hear you. The person that I believe will be revealed as a betrayer will be none other than ex-superhero track star Chase. Am I blowing your mind?
Holy shit.
Ever since being first introduced to this character, the writers established a strong trust between Chase and Robert, based off of their years-long relationship. We are buttering him up, don't be weird. On top of that, he's with us throughout most of Robert's office struggles, literally seated right beside him. Affable, amicable, small moments like giving Robert money or fawning over Beef the dog, all things to make us try and like him and see him in a positive light. Also, what is he constantly saying about the members of the Phoenix program, especially Invisigal?
That's why I would have cut them all, starting with that asshole.
And don't forget, Chase was a member of the Brave Brigade along with Mecha Man Astro, Robert's dad, and Shroud. If you don't remember, Shroud was also part of the Brave Brigade before turning villain. Now the only problem is, I can't figure out a motivation for Chase. You know, motivation, the backbone to any overarching important character decision ever. Maybe it has something to do with reversing or counteracting the aging side effects of his superpower? I don't know. You speculate on that, dear viewer. But I think Chase, who was the reason behind Robert joining SDN, will betray Robert and those at SDN, which may result in a major conflict where Robert teams up with the members of the Phoenix program, who he has been building a reputation and relations with, in order to combat whatever nonsense Shroud and his lackeys have cooking behind the scenes. And there you go. What do you think? Do you agree? Actually, I have a confession to make. I don't really think Chase will betray us. I'm just tossing a theory out there to promote discussion, a wacky wrench in the conversation to spark some thinking in your minds. My evidence, and I use that word lightly, is less contextually based on the story and more dependent on the literary techniques utilized by the writers. And only sometimes you can predict stories with those in mind. Emphasis on sometimes. I mostly believe the writers will probably go the most obvious route and say Invisigal, enlisted by Shroud, made her way into SDN in order to watch over Robert or mess with him somehow. Maybe something to do with the Mecha Man suit. But as the story progresses, she has a change of heart due to the budding relationship between her and Robert, and she is then faced with a difficult decision that will define her character. Robert and the superheroes, or Shroud and a supervillain? That's honestly why I prefer her as a romantic choice over Blonde Blazer, because that feels like a nicer development for all the stories involved. Don't take any of my theorizing too seriously. Dispatch was just an incredibly fun experience as I was playing it, and another piece of media to definitely add into my catalog of inspirations for personal ongoing projects. Hope you enjoyed, and keep it civil in the comments. I don't usually do videos like this, it's a first, so yeah. Be kind, be courteous, and stay beautiful. Maybe I'll see you next time.